Hey. Welcome to another Lunch with Philip and Greg. Today's guests are Ronny Courtens and Nouch Demeulenaere, and they like to have as much fun as they can. That's their operation. But perhaps you could explain a little bit more of what you do day to day.
Right. So, how do you summarize 39 years in television and film? I've been everywhere. I've cut images with scissors and high-end linear and non-linear stuff. I lived in Germany, in London, in Paris, working for international television stations. Worked for BBC, for ITV, for ZDF, for France 2. And then I became post-production manager of a huge post-production house in Brussels. And I created a new one from them in Paris, where I lived for a couple of years. So yeah, that summarizes it. I've done everything what you can imagine in post-production. As an editor, and then slowly, at the BBC I was assistant producer, and then up to post-production manager, and I was a senior partner in the post houses, and then I quit this in, I think, 2010, and I was going to retire, and then Final Cut Pro 10 came out. And I said, this is so amazing, finally something new, something that I really would like to explore, and we started doing this. We still kept a little production company that we still have. With that company we do some high-end commercials. It's a small thing, the Olympic Games and things like that. And no, but
social things.
Social,
yes.
very much. Social documentaries in Tanzania and Indonesia. That's what we do. Most socially involved, and then we have a sports division, and that does the Olympic Games. But it's a small company. It's not really big. And I said, well, we still have that company. Let's use Final Cut Pro 10. And the first time we really used it on a professional level was at the Olympic Games, Paralympic Games 2012 in London. We were there with the whole team for our national broadcaster, and they were cutting with their Avid laptops. And we had set up a Final Cut that was 10:06 or 5.
Yeah, 2012, you were brave.
Yeah, we were.
About 12 months after the launch, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I had been testing it, of course, and I said, I think it's ready for that kind of production and in a controlled environment. But it became bigger and bigger. We got camera people coming in day and night shooting. And we produced around how many? 12 to 14 programs per day with a team of 4, and then our friends from sports, from the sports division of national television came and they said, oh, we're exhausted. I said, what did you do? Oh, we cut 2 programs yesterday evening. I said we did around 12, and we were earlier in our beds than you were. We had Pegasus set up in a hotel room. We had to rent a hotel room, Pegasus, and we were collaborating. Even with 10:05 or 6, I don't know what it was, didn't matter. And people just came in, and journalists were coming in with their footage, and they actually took a microphone, they just did their text, we edited, and it went live. I remember one particular case when Marieke Vervoort, one of our handbiking, won gold. Then we got a call from the broadcast, and he said, listen, you've got to have a satellite van coming up, and really we have to go live, and we need footage behind the interview. Right. And I said, yeah, okay, the satellite van is not a problem. You rent it and it comes over. But we got the footage in around 2 minutes before the interview. Yeah. Wow. So we hooked the camera to the mixer of the broadcast van, a MacBook Pro with I think it was an AJ or a Blackmagic box into the mixer. And I started editing while the interview was going on, and suddenly after 2 minutes I could chip all the images live over the satellite van. That was with Final Cut Pro 10:05 or 6, I don't remember. And I said, this is so amazing, not a hiccup. Okay, it's not really complex, but you have 8 audio channels in these sports programs coming from the broadcast cams. All kinds of formats you have to deal with. And it just went through it. And we had to deliver MXF, there still wasn't any MXF inside Final Cut Pro 10, but we used some kind of plugin and it worked. And broadcaster was ecstatic about this. And then I said, I think this program is ready for professional use after 1 year.
Yeah.
And there were already other people using it professionally.
Yeah, that was the year I tried to use it on a reality show that where we're going to go around the Great Loop waterway can go around the entire eastern seaboard of the United States without going into the ocean, except for about 20 miles going into New York. And it never happened. It was going to be on a solar-powered boat. It was going to be the first solar-powered boat that got round there. It still hasn't got round there. But that was where Lumberjack came from, because I thought, well, you know, we're going to be travelling and shooting during the day. We can log it at night, and I can sleep or edit for 3 or 4 months. I'm not 18 anymore. 3 months without sleep isn't going to work.
No.
For something, somebody else must have made a solution for this, and we really started looking, and there was nothing out there. And we were very much enamored with the idea of keyword ranges in Final Cut 10, because I think that's just the easiest way to log.
Content metadata, a range of media with something that describes what's in that.
What's inside the range.
And that was the inspiration for Lumberjack. That's right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And actually, at the event we heard so many people are using it. Even for programs that it's not really meant for.
Yeah, because STV
did the
Kinder.
narrative and it was scripted. So actually, I'm amazed, and they're so happy about everything.
Yeah, so we thought the Final Cut was good enough at that point to do the job, and of course it's only become better since then.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting at the I hate talking about Final Cut 10 launch all the time, but we always start with that. But at the launch of Final Cut 10, a lot of people were very somewhere between confused and upset. But other people like you two were excited and enthusiastic. So what did you see in it?
If you have been in this business so long, we always had to. I come from negative film cutting over to linear, huge studios with 1-inch machines, and then I remember the first day they came to demo Avid in one of our post houses. And I was sitting there, as a big studio with all the mixers and the ADOs, and they came in with this little box. I think it was a Quadra 5000 something, and they set it up, and after 3 hours it didn't work at all. I said, listen, that's crap, that's a toy, it's not for professionals like we are. That was Avid.
Yes.
So 4 years later I really had to change my mind, because
they made it work.
we bought 16 stations. So, and that's why when I said I will never do this again, and as technology evolves, you have to adapt. And if you see something, and after all these years, you start seeing, when you see something, you immediately see the potential. And maybe it's not really as it is now, maybe you don't find any use for it, but you can see that there is something there that is so intriguing and that I want to explore more. And that was my first thought with Final Cut 10. And I immediately realized, because after we had thrown Avid out, we were using Final Cut 7. I already knew when 5 came out, was very stable, very good. 6 was an update. At 7 I said, it's finished. This will not be possible to upgrade this anymore without breaking the foundation.
Yeah.
And we realized that, and many people didn't realize that, and I'm sure someone at Apple must have been realizing it years before that, because they were already working on.
Oh yeah, I mean, apparently the directive. Well, everyone was promised that the Carbon APIs, the OS 10 Carbon APIs, would be rewritten to 64-bit, and so Final Cut would run in 64-bit, Photoshop would run in 64-bit, After Effects would run in 64-bit. 1 year later at WWDC, they said, you know what we promised last year? Not going to happen. And at that point, I understand that the directive came from the highest level of the company, saying, well, if you're going to have to rewrite it, rethink it.
Rethink it.
And there was a couple of years where they weren't able to rethink it. There was apparently, rumor has it, that there was a version of Final Cut built on Final Cut Server with everything that the traditional market would have loved, and it wasn't rethinking. It was rebuilding something old again, something built on the same old paradigms. And so, yes, it was important that they rethought it.
I think it was a brilliant idea, because now they always compare. You say, okay, competitors for Final Cut 10 or Avid or Premiere, I don't see them as competitors. Premiere, Avid, Resolve, whatever, are competitors. They fish in the same pond, they have the same kind of NLE with other buttons, but they're all the same. Final Cut Pro 10 is different. It's totally different when you work with you as an editor. You feel it that it works totally different, and so they're not competitors. I deal with very big companies as a broadcaster. I know many people in Europe, so they contact me. We love to have a look at Final Cut Pro 10. Could you fly over, or could you give some advice? So we do that, and we often see that they start. Most of them are Avid houses, and in Europe it's Avid. And they start using Final Cut Pro 10 alongside with it, and gradually we see the percentage of Final Cut Pro 10 growing all the time, and the other ones are slowly going away. But I think they're a great combination because it's so different. And that's why when I opened it for the first time, I said, "This is brilliant." But God, it's going to create havoc.
I know.
Because I know, you know editors, and especially your side of the pond.
Yes.
Europe is much more, I think, open to new ideas, and we don't have that many unions in our profession, and I think that makes a difference as well. Because editors can choose freely. There's no one controlling and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to lose jobs here because it's faster." Oh God, no.
And also the markets tend to be somewhat smaller.
Yes.
And so the budgets are smaller. So if there's a rethink, if we can do this faster, if we can do this easier, we can do this cheaper.
They do.
Yeah.
Let's say the budgets are perhaps smaller, but there's more going into post-production. Whereas I think in American feature films, not much goes into post-production. A lot goes into parts we don't want to know. So budgets, I think with us, budgets are more effective. We don't have these big stars and these, you know.
Yeah.
So, and films that are made in Europe are brilliant. Maybe you've seen Ben Mercer at our event. He's working on one of the biggest European films that will come out in 2017. Very high-end workflows, Ben. And so we're working on quite some big productions. And he's using Final Cut Pro 10 all the way from on location to post-production. And that's what we see. And going back to Final Cut Pro 10, I said, this is going to evolve. This is going to get better, let's hope it does. But we're still struggling with that initial reception. Apparently we have, because things are changing, you know. We did Metronome and the Mall Shine, this whole transform, and we were there, 1 month ago, at Metronome, Ryan and Mads?
Yes.
Yeah, 1 month ago.
One month.
So now they are retraining all their Avid editors to Final Cut Pro 10. And at these training sessions, Ryan always begins with explaining why they make the decision to go from Avid 100% to Final Cut Pro 10. And he always does that. And one of the last sessions, after the session, the Avid editors came to him. They said, "You really don't need to defend Final Cut Pro 10 anymore. Everyone knows that it's a very good NLE. So stop doing this. It's changing. The opinions are changing." And at the event, I was so surprised to meet companies here that we never knew of, with so many seats of Final Cut Pro 10 that nobody knows of. I got I know, Anushka came in with 2 people from Poland. I'm in contact with Polish National Television. They have 14 seats, and we're talking with them to expand. And so I met 2 people from Poland. I said, "Oh, you're Polish National Television." I said, "No, we're the competitors. We're TV2, the commercial Polish television." I said, "Oh, are you using Final Cut Pro 10 as well?" "Oh yeah," he said, 106 seats. Must be, I think, one of the largest operations, Final Cut Pro 10 in the world. And nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Never heard of them. Wow.
No. And they're working, and they said, "Oh, absolutely, come over to Poland in 2 weeks, fly over. We have to show you our studios, we have to talk."
Goodness.
Yeah. And you meet them at an event like this, and you don't know that they are there. When Swiss Television contacted us. I didn't even know they were using Final Cut Pro 10, but they did. I met some people from a small television station in London, and there are, I don't know how many seats there. Must be thousands. But all in divisions, separate divisions. One manages 64 seats, but they can't talk about it because they are a public.
Got too many layers of bureaucracy to.
Well, they have, in Europe there's a law. When you get public funding, you're not allowed to advertise, to make commercial advertising. So they can't endorse any supplier.
Oh, okay.
And they're not allowed to talk about it because that will be making publicity. And public television can't make publicity unless under strict conditions. Same with everybody knows that TF1, the big French broadcaster, uses Final Cut Pro 10 for news and sports. You see a tweet now and then, and you know that they have compared Premiere and Final Cut Pro 10 for about 1 year or two, I think, Premiere CC and Final Cut Pro 10, and they said both are good. Final Cut Pro 10 has been chosen, was the best. And they're using it, but you won't see no tweets about it, nothing.
Interesting.
Big bro. Swiss Television is a national broadcaster, but it is publicly owned by a huge media group, so they can talk about it. Commercial television can talk about it. So we're flying off to Poland to get that case study running.
Yes. Yeah, well, there's a great case study in a commercial environment.
You don't know these people, you know, and he was so happy to be able to share this. And that's one thing. I think one of the biggest features of Final Cut Pro 10 is the community around it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so heartwarming. You know, we had this event here at IBC, we had 3 weeks to prepare it. We just decided 3 weeks ago, let's do a big event.
That's insane.
Was that a good idea, doing it in 3 weeks?
It was a good idea, but not doing it in 3 weeks.
It was Let's Go Power Rangers.
Yeah, Power Ranger, yeah. Yeah, actually, no. 5 weeks ago, I called Sam Mastman and I said, is anything going on to happen at IBC? Because I was there last year to do a presentation. I said, I liked it the way it went. He said, no, not that I know of. So I called some other people and they said, no, I can confirm that nothing is planned. And Sam said, why don't you do anything? I said, yeah, I have nothing to do.
You're retired after all.
You're retired after all. You have nothing to do. I said, yeah, well, why, let me think about it. So we came to Amsterdam a couple of times to see the venue, to talk. And this took 2 weeks before we made up our mind. And 3 weeks ago, we decided, let's do it. And then I said, now, that's good. We have a venue. Now I need some speakers. In 1 week, I called around the world. And in 1 week, I got Duncan Shepherd coming over from New York to talk about the Paul McCartney videos. We got people coming over from Denmark, from Norway, just flying, and most of them weren't even coming to IBC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most of them, like Benjamin Merson from the big film, he said, I wasn't going to come to IBC, but as you're doing an event, I would really like to be there and present, and while I'm there, I made
Guys from Austria also.
From Austria, yeah, there were people from everywhere coming. And we had some really big names. And only in the last days could I contact third-party suppliers to say, would you want to be on our show? Come over. So we got in touch with you, we got in touch with Roger Bull, and he said, oh yeah, I'm coming, Denver Riddle, you know, all these great guys. And then Soft One was about 24 hours before the event. That they said, we want to be on your show. So that's good.
We briefly talked about embracing change or dealing with change, and how do you deal with change?
We're used to it. You know, after so many years, we changed from film to linear to non-linear, and then technology started evolving so fast that we have to adapt to change every week or every month. There's something new coming out, so I embrace it.
Yeah. But so many people seem to fight change.
I understand that. If I were someone who works in a company and I have an established workflow and I know these things and I can sit in my seat and say, okay, I'm old enough, I know everything, then that's the way I work.
When you're old enough.
Yeah. I don't care about change, so I don't accept it. And we are different. We have to change. because we are independent, we are professionals, and if you use the yesterday's tools to do today's work, you may be out of a job tomorrow. So you have to adapt, you have to embrace, you have to look, even after having edited the full day, I'm on the internet looking what's new, what's exciting, what could we try out, even if it doesn't work yet.
That was what Norton was saying too
Yeah.
from STV, that,
Yeah.
that his job as a producer was to get on the internet and find out better ways of working.
Yeah, and that's also Anushka, and that's why I like working with young people around me, like Anushka is my first colleague, and she, you know, her home is one multimedia internet thing center. She's a techno geek. Yes, creative, yeah. And you need people like this. Otherwise, you start editing and you edit one program, and 2 years later you're still using the same technology, the same things, and people get bored of your work.
Yeah.
You have to have fresh ideas. You use new technologies, even when you don't understand them. But try to get a hold of them and try to appreciate, at least try to be positive towards something new. If it doesn't work for you, okay, but at least try it out, because nothing is worse than not trying it out.
Yes.
Because then you could miss out on something. So the first thing when you see something, even when you think, this is not for me, why don't you try it? Why don't you try it instead of just saying it's not for me? And then you can say if it's not for you or not, but not before you've used it and not before you've really been into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with Final Cut 10, you have to get into it before you know how to use it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But come with a clean mind.
It's different, and actually, Alex Gollner is staying with us at the farmhouse during IBC, and so every evening we have some chats. Alex is a great guy, brilliant mind, and he has so many suggestions. And yeah.
Oh man, his suggestions.
Actually, we were talking about a specific topic. I think yesterday evening or yesterday night. Yeah, we came in at 2 o'clock, and I want to read it. He told me something about. Because people always say, I'm a Final Cut 7 editor, I don't want to change much, but it doesn't exist anymore, so I will go to Premiere because it's easier. Yeah. And we were talking about, and then Alex said, let me give you a quote, and he said, going from Avid to or Final Cut Pro 7, learning Premiere, you start to like it. You start to like it after 2 days, and you get frustrated with it after 3 weeks. Learning Final Cut Pro 10, you get frustrated after 2 days, and you start to love it after 3 weeks.
So true. That is very true.
And I said, can I quote you when I sit down with Philip and Greg? So I have it on my iPad. And I think it really summarizes what so many people have experienced. Right. That, okay, it takes some time, and really, even I've edited on anything you can. And it always went very smooth, but Final Cut Pro 10, I saw the potential, and then I started cursing.
I had exactly the opposite. So I had this 1 week preview that Apple let me see the app. In the first 24 hours, I read the manual, the PDF manual that they provided from cover to cover. Right. And so I then sat down, and the second afternoon, I sat down and started playing with it. I thought, this is what I've wanted. This fits, this works so very well for me that I never had that immense sort of like confronting learning curve.
You see, that was the difference, because when I got it, I didn't open any PDF. I just started working on it, and that was my mistake. Because I said, okay, I've been an editor for, at that time it was 35 years. Why should I need to read a PDF? Yeah. I'd better had to read the PDF. But after 2 days, I totally understood the changes and what was in it. And I started embracing. And actually, one thing is terrific, because as an old editor, you have these habits, and you have to unlearn some things. But the reward that you get out of it is so amazing. And actually, I had been teaching Anushka even before Final Cut Pro 10 came out. I did Final Cut Pro 7. She hated it. She couldn't work with that.
Greg's the same. Greg started. Well, I started with Media 100 in non-linear.
Right.
And Greg kind of got, because Greg's not an editor at all, no background in the video industry at all. So he got Media 100. He understood the simplicity, the straightforward interface. Final Cut Classic was always
I didn't understand why there were 2 viewers.
No.
It made no sense.
And the audio, I don't know.
So Anushka has no editing background, and graphics, motion, everything you want, but no editing.
I'm an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist, a technical artist. And then she said, I hate classic Final Cut Pro 7, so I said, don't bother about editing. And then we were at Metronome, I think, and we were doing tests with a new...
No, Geneva.
Or in Geneva, doing tests with a large setup. I needed editors to start working on the shared storage system. We didn't have editors enough in the evening, so I said, Nouch, just take a seat, we'll put some multicam in, and you can just drag and drop. And actually, after 2 minutes, she was actually editing on this thing. And she's in love with Final Cut Pro 10, while she hated classic Final Cut.
Yeah, I have it at home now.
She has it at home, and
Yeah, it's nice.
nice, it's great.
For me, it's nice.
Yeah.
I understand.
And that's what we see. Like, people like Morten, he's a producer from STV. So he has no editing background at all. And we see this in the larger why do larger corporations embrace Final Cut Pro 10? The biggest ones do it, like Animal Shine, because not all the people working on a program are editors. There's so much work before the actual lead editing, main editing begins. There are producers, post-producers, journalists, interns coming in, working on the shared story, preparing, let's say, you have a 50-minute program with all different stories. Each one prepares a little story. They take out the bad cuts, they just do a pre-cut. Yeah. That's not done by lead editors, that's done by people who make up the story, the journalists, the post-producers. And then the lead editor finishes it, fine-tunes audio and tweaks things, but the story is pre-cut by people who are not editors. And this is where Final Cut Pro 10 shines, absolutely. And it's so much more cost-effective for these houses, for these big houses. When you can get 24 people working in a pre-production before the lead editor even touches it. And actually, it's a story I always tell, but it's so amazing. I did interviews with all the people working at Metronome and the Mall Shine, and there were interns working on a production, on a reality television production, and one of them was a student at the National Film School, and I talked about Final Cut Pro 10, and they said, what do you think about the magnetic timeline? And they said, what? I said, no, the fact that you can move clips and everything stays connected. Oh, I love it. Is that what they call it?
Is that what it's called?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. What's in a word? What's in an expression? You know, it's so crazy. So yeah, actually, people who are not really editors can work on it and can start working on it very fast.
Yes.
The lead editors, trained editors, have to be retrained a bit, but I think a good editor can edit on anything.
The funny thing is that people who were always, before Final Cut Pro 10 came out, we were always saying, I'm a storyteller, it's not important what I edit on. Suddenly Final Cut Pro 7 goes away and suddenly they're bereft. It's like, oh, my muscle memory's all there. Suddenly they're not editors, they're somebody who's used a particular tool and they're very adept at that tool as well as being storytellers. But changed the tool and it changed their perception. They weren't really quite as independent as they thought they were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you can't adapt to changes, then I think your memory has not enough muscles.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true.
What do you think has been the biggest change during your career?
Going from linear to non-linear. I was opposed to it.
Oh, really?
Quite a contradiction. And I was at the stage then, in a big post house. And that's why I understand how many people react to Final Cut Pro 10. I was in the same position when Avid came to demonstrate their toy to us. And we said, that little box will never replace my big studio with all those people here. And I've learned not to say that anymore. Because that was a huge change. And since then, well, I think Final Cut Pro 10 was a big change. Otherwise, I would be lying on the beach right now.
That's true, yes.
Yeah. I could.
Properly
No,
retired.
probably only for 5 minutes because I can't stand doing it.
For me, the idea of retirement is complete anathema. It's like,
I have to be busy, and Anushka is even worse. She has to be very busy.
if I retired, what would I do? although I do know people who retire from terrible jobs, or who retire from terrible clients, and who have so many other things that they want to do with their life. And so, but there are so many people who sort of, oh well, I've reached a certain number, and so I must be old, and therefore I'm going to act like an old person, and so I'll slow down. I won't be exercising. I won't go and do that same thing because I'm old now.
I keep him young, you know.
Yeah, that's why I love, when you do things like these, you're so focused on everything that needs to be done, and then you absolutely need someone to take the pressure off. And Anushka was there, talking with people, making a way before we could talk with them. And this is important because I'm absolutely too old to be doing this.
No, never.
It's just enough.
You're not that much older than me.
I used to be able to work, and I'm not exaggerating, I've done 72 hours in a row.
Wow. Yeah,
That wouldn't be possible anymore.
that's true.
These little things. But
It would be possible. It would just take more recovery time.
absolutely. And I'm also less focused. And that's only not in my editing or in my work, but I always forget, lose my phone, I lose my money, my iPad, and then I need someone who can focus on that. Possibly also because now it's so much going on. Well, I didn't expect at all.
I just figured that this is the most exciting part of my career to date. Well, every bit has been, but there's so much that I want to do with metadata, with automatic generation of metadata. The technology has finally got a point where I now know what I want to be when I grow up.
And Philip, I think of all the NLAs, I think Final Cut Pro 10 is the only one has so many untouched possibilities yet, and it's so open to new things, and it's not established on an old code that has rigorous technologies implied. It's open, and that's why talking with people, I see so many people, brilliant people who make plugins, who create workflows around it that maybe Apple never had intended to do. And isn't that brilliant? It's like a hub, a creative hub, where people can insert their technology. And what I really appreciate there is, yesterday at the Supermid I saw a presentation of another company, and the big news was that they had another button on their interface. We have a new button! Whoa! I don't need another button that I don't use. Whereas Final Cut Pro 10 doesn't have many buttons. But if you want to add buttons, you add them because you need them, because you want them.
And the other philosophy that Steve Bays expressed at one point is that our philosophy at Apple is if we can do it for you, then we will do it for you. And a lot of people are very frustrated and annoyed by that because they wanted to do it.
To do it themselves.
To do it themselves. In some people's minds, working harder equals being more professional. Whereas, I think working smarter is what's more professional.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It gives you more time then to concentrate on the creative stuff.
And that's, of course, my favourite quote from Mark Buck, actually, about our stuff is like, buying your stuff is like buying sleep. Yeah. And to me, that's the most wonderful, wonderful thing. It's like, we help families stay together. And you don't think about that when you're writing bits of plugins and software, but really, if you can speed up people's workflow, you make their life better.
Yeah.
Same thing was said by two assistant editors working on a big feature film with Final Cut Pro 10 on location. And they said, what's best about Final Cut Pro 10 is that at least now we can go home shortly after the shoot. Whereas otherwise we would be working all night until they shot again the next day. Yeah. And that is, I think, amazing. It's not about buttons or features, it's about the feeling to work with it. And the feeling that something's going on and it's creative and you can really put your mind on it and without even bothering about technology or buttons or whatever.
You need to have so much extra knowledge to work with Media Composer, with Avid, or work with Premiere Pro. Yeah. I use it as an analogy a lot, but you know, in Final Cut Pro 10, you have better performance or better quality. Mm-hmm. Even Nouch can understand that.
Yes,
but if you're in Premiere Pro and you want the same thing, you need to know that to get that you need to change the playback resolution from full to 16th or 8th or something. Now, not hard to learn, but why would you have to learn that? What do you want to know? I want better performance. I don't care so much about quality at the moment. Or I want the quality because I want to see what it's going to look like when it's finished. So it's that.
And well, I think.
Sorry, my friends at Adobe, but you know it's true.
It can be better.
I love what Adobe is doing with Premiere finally.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
But it's the mentality of really always adding new things to something that is really old.
Yeah.
And at a certain time there will be a limit about this. And then they know it. I'm telling the secrets. Everyone knows that. And I love what they're doing, and they're really doing a good work.
Made the best implementation of a traditional nonlinear editor that probably can be done.
I agree.
Yeah. But a pity unfortunately it's built on old metaphors that aren't really suitable for the modern world going.
And they're working very hard and they're promoting it very well.
Yeah. And they're doing well because people who don't want to learn something new are transitioning to Premiere because it's an easy transition from Final Cut 7.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, as it built on old code, I repeat Alex's quote, that it's very easy to make the transition, but once you start working it on real projects, you get frustrated. And no matter how good their marketing machine is, you can't beat real life cases.
No.
And in the real world, that's what I hear. Whereas, and this is something, whereas for some reasons there is no real marketing machine behind Final Cut Pro 10.
Not in the same way.
Not in the same way, not in the same ambitious way, but there are so many people who use it that are the best marketeers that you can find. And what is better? Someone of a big company saying, we have the best NLE in the world, or someone, an editor saying, you have the best NLE in the world?
I would much rather people talk about and demonstrate our products and have me do it because I can't be trusted. I made it, of course. I've got, I have a financial interest.
That's right. You do real life demos.
Yeah.
So people see that.
And I use it every day. I mean, I use Lumberjack right now. I mean, every day.
And you're supported by real case studies because right before you did the presentation, there were the guys from STV saying, this is wonderful. It has saved our production.
Best part of my whole trip to Amsterdam, honestly, was that presentation.
No, and it came out of the heart, and that's what you want. You don't want to have a senior manager from a company saying, "Oh, this is good." No, you have to have a producer saying, "We work with it. It's fantastic. It saves us time. It saves us money, and we really love it." And that's what Lumberjack does.
Because we could do a product demo, but of course you know a product demo is highly scripted and very, very well rehearsed, and it's always going to work perfectly because it's a product demo.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody saying, well, I used it on a real world production and it was amazing and it saved me so much time, that's very real.
It doesn't have to even be big productions. Like the demonstration that I showed was actually from my singing teacher's own production. She has a young man who is teaching himself production, and so he has no preconceived notions. He's very open to suggestions, so I've been able to provide a little bit of wisdom from the years of experience. But at the same time, I also like to see what young people will do without sort of trying to push the years of experience on them, because not everything that I've learned is now appropriate.
What he will do without is layer up things instead of doing a proper multicam, because he didn't know that a multicam could have existed. That's it.
I can help him save some of it. But you know, he immediately realised what Lumberjack could do for him, and so it was like, yes, I get this. I want to use this because I don't have preconceived notions about what I should be doing or how I should be working.
Sure. I think that's amazing. And you see that more and more.
I thought it was wonderful because normally the most contact that I have with customers is something's gone wrong, can you help me? So I always hear all of the bad things.
Yeah.
And the only contact that I had with Morten was, I cannot find any of my logs. I don't know what's happened to them. They're not there. And it was really just a simple thing. We've done it ourselves. We forgot to upload the logs.
He was so happy about the support and the immediate reaction.
There was some time when it took more than a little while to get it. And I know at one point I turned to Greg and said, "Oh, I hope he doesn't actually sign up."
It was a little slow going, wasn't it?
And had I realised he was a producer and not somebody actually in editorial, that would have probably helped me realise that where the questions were coming from.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's like it's gone on to be a great success story for them and for us. So it's funny where you just have to be careful that you don't. Be careful what you wish for, Philip.
Yeah. Because we're seeing more and more production that will require something like Final Cut Pro 10 with large collaboration groups that not everyone is an editor.
Yeah.
It's becoming very important. We see that with shared storage as well. So many people requiring shared storage for the moment.
Yeah.
Every production, everyone wants to work with 2 or more people.
Yeah, of course.
And the same way as there is Final Cut Pro 10 that simplifies the editing workflow, there is LumaForge coming up
Yeah.
with some system that simplifies shared storage. Now, you can't imagine. As post-production manager of 2 big post houses, I've worked with accents, I've worked with shared storage all my life. Frustrating, aggravating. When you say the word shared storage to me, I run away. At a certain time in Brussels, we employed full-time engineer to keep the accent running.
Yeah.
I heard the same story in Denmark where Mats was on a big production with Final Cut Pro 7. Full-time, he was just there to make it run again when it crashed, and it crashed. Things have evolved, technology has gone better, but I still hear so many complex stories that I say, now there's this product, and I don't know how they thought of it, how it became to be a product, but it's so brilliant that you can have a box. You say, okay, let's start editing with 4 people. You put that box on your desk, you connect your stations, and 30 minutes later, everybody is editing.
Yeah.
That was never possible before with shared storage. And it's the same way Final Cut Pro 10 works. It looks simpler, and you'll have those big storage companies saying, oh yeah, but can you trust us because it's simple, it's easy, it works.
Oh yes. You should hear what my friends at Keycode say about LumaForge's offerings. They are not favourable.
So shared storage is so difficult that you were here for 2 or 3 weeks beforehand setting up your system for the demonstration on the weekend.
Yeah. But that's the point. People make a living from setting up difficult things and making it complicated, so that the client certainly has no say in it. And then these crazy guys from Los Angeles come and they put a box in your desk and they connect their station and they start working.
Right.
Many people saying, "Oh, I'm going to lose my job here."
Well, that's true, because there's IT people that are
And other people making the recommendations on the system. So in the same way that Macs was so hard to get into enterprise is because they know that they'll need a lot less maintenance, and so it's like, oh no, that can't possibly work for us because I won't have a job.
And that was exactly, our first contact with Sam and with LumaForge was Swiss National Television. We know the people there, so people know that I have some time, and they only contact us when they have a problem.
Yeah.
Same as you. You only get a call when they say, "Oh, we need you," and they say, "Can't you call me just to say hello?"
Just thought I'd check in and say how wonderful everything's going.
Yeah. And so they called us and they said, we've been trying out big brand system, big iron systems for 2.5 years to get Final Cut Pro, because the post-production is 100% Final Cut Pro 10. And they had an accent that worked very well, but they couldn't upgrade it anymore. So they had to stay on Mavericks. And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
And so they said, we need to find a new solution. And I said, well, have you tried? They said this and this. Big brand, big things. With a big, they have a huge fiber setup, fiber network, existing one, very good one. And they had been trying for 2.5 years. Engineers had been there, and they couldn't make it work as they wanted because it's very heavy, high-end workflow there. They have lots of editors doing multicam at the same time, and at a certain point in time, broadcast trucks are arriving back from the shoot, and they start dumping media on the server at ultra high speed. And most systems break because the editing goes, because writing takes priority over reading. And so all the systems bogged down. Nobody can. They knew when the vans were there.
Yeah.
Because the editing stopped. And so they called me and said, "What could be a solution?" I said, "I wouldn't know, because I'm used to accents, and that seemed to work, but it's not too old." I said, certainly don't put down another accent because you're locked into Mavericks for the rest of your life."
Yeah, right.
So I said, "I heard about LumaForge, and I know Sam. We've been on the phone. We've been talking over the internet, and so we went there. And okay, first there was the Inquisition, and then we met here at IBC last year. And I said, listen, I know Sam. I know he's a great guy. I have never worked with this product, but I'm really advising you to try it out." So he said, why not? Because they know I'm a broadcaster, I know their workflows. We went to see this too. I could talk with these people.
Yes, their language.
Exactly knowing what they need and why there was a problem, because I had worked with accents all my life. And so, what we'll do, we'll schedule 5 days for the installation, because that's a regular thing, and then you take another 5 days or a week for an accent to set it up. And they arrived, and you should have seen, you know Sam.
Yeah.
And Eric, they came from LA, no tie, no. We're bringing a box with studios, with 2 studio systems in it, and those engineers were looking. This can't be right. This can't be. It's not that easy, Normally you come in with Avid things or Promise, and engineers coming. The CEO and the CTO came in from LumaForge with us, and we started installing. And the same day, the system was running. We hadn't set up all their clients yet, but the system was working. We could copy the media over.
At night.
At night, they had, yes, 160 terabytes of
That's
media.
a lot. It's take a few minutes.
So we did it overnight.
It was more.
Yes, it was
was
even more.
more.
And so we copied it over, and the next day we started editing, and then we did 3 days of heavy testing. And the first day there, that's in those national television, there's lots of managers everywhere. And
They were very septic.
yeah, they were very skeptic in the beginning. Swiss. You can't sell anything to a Swiss before he has eaten, tried, and smelled it. And they're right. No, it's delightful. And they were very skeptical, seeing us doing all these things, and it worked too well. And so they said, we're going to really have to test it very hard. And so we would stress test everything they wanted. We spent 3 days with them. And each day the smile got bigger. And the 4th day, one top level management came and said, let's not do any testing anymore, let's go and have lunch. They've been working with it since December last year, so that's quite a long time. We haven't heard from them anymore. That's good.
I've seen Sam set up jellyfish or the small. What's the small one?
Jellyfish.
Yeah, jellyfish is the small one. Yeah, I've seen set it up twice in less than half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday at the super meet.
Yeah.
We had 10 minutes, not more, 10 minutes. So we had 4 machines sitting on the table. Well, Sam did his first 7 minutes. Our Spanish dealer connected the systems. During that speech, he connected 4 systems, one running Resolve, Final Cut Pro 10, Avid with project sharing and bin locking, and Premiere. And he set it up while Sam was speaking.
Wow. That's a great demo. That's a really impressive demonstration.
That is impressive. And it's only a matter of, I would say it depends. In the real world, it's always a little bit more difficult than what you advertise, because you get so many different computers you have to connect. But let's say honestly and objectively, anyone can set it up, can set one system up in 10-15 minutes, and that's exaggerated. It's less. While otherwise you have to call an engineer to attach a switch, and then the protocols don't work, and then it's the switch is to blame. It's never the shared storage, or you are to blame.
Yeah.
Everyone's to blame except my shared storage. Here's a jellyfish or whatever from LumaForge. There's no one to blame except LumaForge if it doesn't work, because you connect it at the back. There's no intermediaries. We sent. That was a strange thing. We met Morten from STV.
Yep.
This is a 100% Avid house. Quite big company. And they called us and said, listen, we have a problem. They always call us.
Yeah. Nobody calls to take you to lunch.
Why not?
I know.
And they said, we have a problem. So, okay, what's your problem? No problem. So he said, yeah, we have this new series coming up, 69 episodes of a scripted children's series, and they told us they were losing Lumberjack all the way on that. And he said, our lead editor and I am the producer, we only want to do it on Final Cut Pro 10. But we have this Avid Nexus system here, and it doesn't, Final Cut Pro 10 doesn't work on it. I said, yeah, it does, but you can't store your libraries on the shared storage, even though it works. So advertises that it can do it. It can't do it because it doesn't have enough bandwidth. Because Final Cut Pro 10 constantly writes to the database. If you put the database on the server, it's not optimized for these small chunks of information.
It's optimized for full media files.
Yes, it's optimized for streaming media and constant bandwidth, and not all these little files that come bug them everywhere. Except, especially as the database writes, which takes priority while you're reading, editing, so it interrupts your editing actually. And that's why I say a lot of shared storage systems say they support. Everyone supports Final Cut Pro 10, but you can't work with it unless you work with local libraries. I think. Until now, I think LumaForge is the only system that can work with libraries. Everyone can store the libraries on the server, but they won't work.
Yeah.
But it has a solution that works for Final Cut Pro 10. And it also works perfectly we have the big case study with Scott Simmons using Premiere on a time-sensitive case using a share station. We had Peter Wiggins doing broadcast jobs, amazing. Tour de France, not the Tour de France was under the share scene, but World Championship track and cycling, and some other things, and darts, and he did really high-end cases against deadlines, and it worked with the little jellyfish. We had someone in London who has tested out on the feature film with Avid, bin locking and project chaining. We do that. And it's the same price, a little box with a handle. And it works. And that's what I find amazing. And so the STV called us and they said, okay, we only want to do this on Final Cut Pro 10, which is a first, because normally people resist to using Final Cut Pro 10. And they said, no, really. But it doesn't work, so can you be here with the jellyfish in, let's say, 1 week? Oh, wow. So yeah, we can do that, maybe in 2 weeks. And so the jellyfish was sent to them.
Always say yes and work out how later.
So I called Sam. So Sam, I have a little problem. Do we have a jellyfish somewhere? He said, yeah, we have a back order of so many. But as this is a new company, we'll really push it. Unfortunately, a client had ordered one, but the company has gone. That was during the vacation here, and they were on vacation, so they could wait for another week for that. So we sent ours one to STV. And then we said, okay, as you new people and as we know the lead editor very well, we have to come over to see Metronome. So we'll be in Denmark and we'll come and install it. And so we book our flights, and then the night before we leave, I said, Morten, we're coming over. Oh yeah, it's running perfectly, he says. He had done it himself. We had to do some tweaks on the because they wanted to change a couple of things. Anushka has done some tweaks on it, but the basic setup it worked, and they had already copied the media over before we arrived, so we could do testing.
And it's a producer.
That's a
I think
producer.
we need to reinforce that.
That's
a producer.
That's a young producer. Who is not an IT engineer. He's not even an editor.
Right.
He gets this box and he said, "Oh yeah, this is port 1. Okay, let's put this in port 1." And then enter port, he got a PDF. He said, okay, enter port 1, initialize, works. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing.
I remember for like all the early years of the 2000s, my friends would go to NAB looking for that small shared storage solution that they could run in a house of one or two editors, often even just one editor, but use multiple machines because they were doing After Effects and they wanted to be able to use shared storage. And nobody had a solution. For a little while there, somebody promised a shared Firewire 800 solution and never delivered.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so to have something that's easy to set up and has a handle to carry it, seems to be impress people.
And that's what I like about, as you talked about changes, that's what I like about how the changes are now. Changes are not always good, but if they're good, Final Cut Pro 10 is a big change, but a very good change if you can work with it. ShareStation, those both things, they make things easier for other people. And we will always need the big lead editors, the big creative editing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's something you learn with experience. But it shouldn't matter how much in a lead you do that, if you're a good editor. And but so many people are really adopting. They are working with shared storage now because they can install it themselves and they don't need to call an engineer. It makes a big difference because most of them start small or smaller companies and they want to do the same things. Final Cut Pro 10 is the same. Just imagine that someone tells you, okay, you buy once, and in 5 years we update it all the time, and you don't pay anything anymore. Yes, isn't that a good solution?
Yeah.
And they keep updating it for professional users, not only for their 80% big, large user base that the others don't have, but also for the little guys like us, who are the 4 or 5% of the market, but who require so many difficult things of them. If I were Apple, I would throw us out. But they don't.
We're the troublemakers.
We're the troublemakers. We're actually the people.
It's the second time I hear that. We are the troublemakers.
Yeah, we're the troublemakers. Yeah.
Isn't that one of the things that Apple had in their Think Different? We are the thinkers. We are the troublemakers. Surely troublemakers is in there somewhere.
No, it wasn't there.
Yeah. It was totally in there.
Yeah.
What do you think will be the biggest change going forward? I mean, it's hard to predict given so much change, and if we look back 30 years and see where we were 30 years ago pre-internet, and and the rate of change is happening faster. Do you have any idea where the future change might take us?
As technology is evolving now, it can go anywhere. Really, everything is open. And I would really advise people who are somewhat narrow-minded and always think about technology of the past to really start opening their minds, or they may be out of a job tomorrow, because so many things are coming up to us. New technologies. VR is one of them. It requires very specific workflows, but there's more. I think cloud will become more important. If it ever works. Cloud collaboration, maybe even not having applications installed on the computer anymore, just connecting and using the application you want. I don't know. It can go anyway. And if there is one, if we stay with the editing world, I think there's one application that is ready for this, because there's still so much undiscovered territory in Final Cut Pro 10 that we start to see. There are some foundations that people say, what does that do? It's the basis of something that can evolve. And it is open to, it's like an open source, it's become an open source program. People can connect to it, can make things. And some really huge programs have been made based on open source.
Yeah.
ShareStation is an open source.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean?
Oh, sorry, I'm doing this.
It's true. I'm sorry.
I didn't
have it on camera.
Get it
do it to Jack.
Sorry. Are you sure you're not part Italian? Because they can't talk without.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's me. When you get me going, I don't stop. There's so much that can be done, and I think if we stick to the editing world, I think Final Cut Pro 10 is ready for this.
Yeah.
Because I think you can mash it any way you want. New technology coming in, someone will find a solution to use this underlying technology to make it work. And it won't always be Apple.
No.
But at least they provide a fast, reliable solution which is stable.
Yeah.
And which has things inside that I think most of us don't even know. Some know. But that haven't been evolved yet, haven't been uncovered yet.
Yeah, the new Apple attitude is definitely, let's create a bunch of systems, and we're not going to give you the answers to everything, but we're going to let other people build something from the blocks that we've given you.
Isn't that amazing? Because then, instead of their team having to deal with all these, you get sort of like you guys, you really can concentrate on a very specific product.
Right.
Support it.
Yeah.
You don't mess with the Apple code. It stays lean and clean.
Yep.
Exactly.
If I need your product, I install it, I use it, and I get benefits from it. You listen to feedback. You give support. And so many people are enthusiastic about Sync and Link, about Lumberjack. Producer's best friend is used hugely in television. Even only for reports for which music have you used and the copyright thing. It's so amazing how many people use it.
Yeah.
And you always develop on their request. Whereas if Apple has to do it, there are so many things inside Final Cut Pro 10.
Well, large companies have a longer development cycle. So about 2 years ago, we were asked to, do IXML support. And, Greg's a smart guy, so once we worked out what it was and where it came from, and a couple of weeks, and it was in Sync and Link, so that anything microphone names that are in the WAV files are bubbled up into the roles, and component names in Final Cut Pro 10. Well, 3 years later, it's still only in Sync and Link, and so people take a lot of time to develop. And Avid spent years getting 3D support in Media Composer, and they got it about the time when the 3D bubble had burst. And so big companies have just such long development cycles, and find it hard to break out of the molds that they're familiar with.
But isn't it much better, that you have an NLE that is fast and stable, and they keep developing in that way, and that is open, and that you can add like plugins or third-party things to it, and these developers have every interest in making them work and keeping them work and developing them further. So you have development teams everywhere instead of having a little team that needs to put buttons inside everywhere. You have one development team for the core program, and you have so many. Actually, the development team of Apple is very big because
it's not.
No. I mean the total, because their development team is small. I know them.
Yeah.
But with all the third-party people developing programs, the actual
effective team is very
developing team community around Final Cut Pro 10 is bigger than any company, I think.
It's quite a huge ecosystem. It wasn't when we first started with it. There was not very many people, but it's grown.
And
to be a very big
and it's
ecosystem.
important to Apple because XML support didn't come in classic Final Cut until version 3.
I think it's
so I got 3 or 4 years.
I started using it at 4.5.
Yeah, so version 3 for like 4 or 5 years into development. Well, we had XML support 3 months after the release, or 4 months after the release. We had basic XML support, which improved on the next release after that. So let's say 6 months down the track, we had reasonably fully featured XML, so that other companies could interact with Final Cut Pro 10 and add these extra functions. And we can move with Lumberjack. I have been fascinated with all of these smart APIs that are available. Speech to text, image recognition, emotion detection, sentiment detection. It would take a large company years it takes about 3 years from the idea to implement a feature till it actually gets released. 2 to 3 years typically.
I agree.
And so, whereas we can say, if we decide it's a good idea, it can be 2 to 3 weeks or months, whatever it actually takes to develop, but we don't have that bureaucratic layer that slows it down.
And you can focus on this one particular. Well, they have this backlog of so many things,
and having to prioritize everybody's requests. Before I became a developer, I used to do what everybody does and say, well, they're a big company. Why couldn't they just?
But surely this would be easy to implement.
Surely it's.
How hard can it be? Apple.
Yes.
It's hard for anyone, but it's just quicker and easier if you don't have to go through
Sometimes
meetings.
that's the fault of people. Sometimes people think Apple is only for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not like that.
They have a lot of
And
people.
they
and
have a
that's
lot of people.
Absolutely, totally,
Yeah.
and especially in our profession, in the
Yeah.
film and television industry, they always think that
Yeah.
their workflow is the only
only
workflow,
workflow.
Yeah.
and they have to develop their.
Yeah.
One day I said, okay, guy messing around on FCP.go and I want this and I want. I said, okay, pay your development team and make your own NLE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody else will use it, but you will be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then a lot of the requests are what we call snowflake workflows,
Yeah.
because snowflakes, every snowflake is unique. And and we made lots of apps for snowflake workflows along the way, and they've sold 20 or 30 copies. I think the worst one sold 5 copies.
No, we have one app that sold 0.
Okay, so we have had so even the person that wanted it didn't get it. We probably gave it to them as a
We
beta
gave him a
test.
free copy. That was it. So that was not an app. That was,
That was a very high-end workflow.
custom workflow. Snowflakes.
Snowflake.
What? Absolutely.
What advice would you give somebody who is starting out now, starting their career now?
Starting your career now.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy.
Try to enjoy it, and absolutely don't get,
Frustrated.
don't let anyone tell you
Yeah.
what you should use or how you should use it. Make up your own mind. I hate people on the internet who say, "Oh, where should I go now? What should I do now?" For God's sake, you're a professional. A professional tests things for himself because I have my workflow, I have my clients. I don't pay your bills, your clients don't pay my bills. So if I have to decide for myself what works, and I don't care what other people, really, I don't care what other people use or don't use. As long as it works for me, and I see that many people are using Final Cut Pro 10. As I said, it was amazing how many people got here. And, and here we go again. and I said, so never mind, just test it and try it on your workflow and see if it works for you. And don't care about what anyone says on the internet, especially not on the internet.
Well, I think the internet's like a hospital. You know, if you work in a hospital, you only ever see sick people. So you can believe that the whole world was sick.
Yeah.
And if you, you know, if you on the internet, you only hear the problems. You only hear people not what they don't know.
Sure.
So you are the doctor. That's another question.
Yeah, well, I would hope to be a wellness consultant.
Well,
Oh yeah.
you develop fitness programs. No, what I would say, keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Because lots of things are going to change again.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. Within this circle that you get renewal all the time, keep an open mind and don't believe anything you hear on the internet, and try things for yourself and enjoy doing what you do. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect place to finish lunch. Thank you, Ronny. Thank you, Nouch. That's been
Thank you very
fabulous.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.